It is my pleasure to introduce Don Henke. Don is a program manager at the Standards Coordinating Body for Gene, Cell, and Regenerative Medicines and Cell-Based Drug Discovery, or SCB. The SCB brings together product developers, service providers, professional societies, government entities, and academic centers with the intent to support standards development in the regenerative medicine field. Dawn received her PhD in genetics from University of Alabama at Birmingham and worked as a postdoctoral fellow at the National Institutes of Health and the National Eye Institute in stem cell research for 2 years. Dawn, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Kendra. Today I'll be talking about standards in regenerative medicine. The current landscape for the development of standards for regenerative medicine products is sparsely populated with finalized standards relative to a commercial-scale medical product field with a mature manufacturing structure, such as pharmaceutical drugs, medical devices, and to a somewhat lesser degree, specified biotechnology products. However, as the field is appearing to approach an inflection point towards increased commercialization, epitomized by the recent Novartis CAR-T BLA approval, there is also a growing awareness of the potential utility of sharing knowledge about approaches to overcoming commonly encountered challenges. Regenerative medicine therapies present unique challenges related to product testing, scientific protocols, product quality and specifications, performance characteristics, and compliance criteria. Thus, advancing the development and use of standards has the potential to transform product development by inspiring innovation and focusing expertise where it is needed most, contribute to regulatory predictability so that investment and research is catalyzed and safe therapies are brought to market in a timely manner, and facilitate the overall development of promising therapies that can cure or treat many conditions and diseases that are not currently easily treatable through conventional means. There are different types of standards that apply to regenerative medicine. Material standards refer to standards that discuss a procedure for testing a product. These standards are often created for testing compliance with specifications, such as test methods for burst strength of surgical sealants. So test methods are written as a set of requirements that the product must meet. These often refer to properties important for safety, quality, and/or performance. For example, the standards for characterization and testing of alginates as starting materials intended for use in biomedical and tissue engineering medical product applications. Both of these types of standards are important for making sure the product produced is safe and complies with standards for effectiveness and safety. Two other types of standards are documentary and reference standards. Documentary standards refer to specific criteria for cataloging and keeping track of technical specifications, guidelines, written rules, and/or definitions of characteristics. For example, standard test methods for automated colony forming unit assays, image acquisition and analysis methods for enumerating and characterizing cells and colonies in culture. Reference standards are physical standards of materials that are thoroughly characterized. These standards are used to confirm consistency, quality, and safety. They are used as a measurement to compare the product against. For example, recombinant adeno-associated virus 2. As a response to the lack of standards in the regenerative medicine field, the 21st Century Cures Act was signed into law and directs the FDA, NIST, and industry stakeholders to coordinate and prioritize the development of standards and consensus definitions of terms that support, through regulatory predictability, the development, evaluation, and review of regenerative medicine therapies and regenerative advanced therapies. To help support this work, the FDA awarded a 1-year contract to Nexight Group to engage with experts to recommend processes and outline a roadmap for developing standards in regenerative medicine and advanced therapy. The Standards Coordinating Body for Gene, Cell, and Regenerative Medicine and Cell-Based Drug Discovery, SCB, has partnered with Nexight to provide subject matter technical support for this effort. Between now and September 2018, Nexight Group and the SCB will work together to engage the community to gain a clear picture of the current regenerative medicine standards landscape and recommend an efficient standards development process that incorporates stakeholder input. One of the deliverables of this contract was a report on the current landscape of standards in the regenerative medicine field. This thorough landscape report was written and delivered to the FDA in December 2017. This report is now available to the public. It can be accessed to the Standards Coordinating Body website, and the link is provided on this slide. This report is an overview of the existing standards and is separated by sector and functional area. The landscape report is an important tool for the field of regenerative medicine, as there has never been a comprehensive list and description of the standards in the regenerative medicine field that can be used by stakeholders to facilitate in creating needed regenerative medicine products, expedite development of new regenerative medicine standards, and reduce duplicate efforts in standards development. The landscape analysis, which was developed in an accelerated 3-month timeframe, was informed by a variety of stakeholder inputs and research methods. Nearly 40 experts representing more than 30 universities and research entities, funding organizations, government agencies, industry organizations, manufacturers, professional and scientific bodies, and standards development organizations provided their input through an online poll, one-on-one interviews, and sharing of publications. The landscape report found standards covering a wide variety of areas in the regenerative medicine field. The report consists of 194 existing standards. These standards cover a wide variety of topics. For example, quality, safety, cell counting, clinical trial management, potency assays, and data management. Although these cover a wide variety of areas, there are still many areas of regenerative medicine that would benefit dramatically from additional standards. These needs and gaps in the field have also been addressed in this landscape report, but will be more thoroughly addressed in a future report focusing on this topic. The landscape report has separated the current standards by different regenerative medicine sectors for ease of use. These sectors are cell therapy, gene therapy, tissue engineering, and supportive standards. Separating the standards by sector allows for a way to see which areas of regenerative medicine have been productive in developing standards and which sectors need more focus on standards development. Quite a few of the standards that are addressed in the report apply to multiple sectors. This overlap demonstrates how important one standard can be, as it can affect many areas of product development. The landscape report also separates the existing standards by functional area. Many of these current standards are overlapping in functional areas. This is due to the similar nature of different functional areas. By looking at the current standards in the functional area, it is possible to see which areas are lacking developed standards. This can be used by stakeholders to determine which areas of standards development need to be focused on. For example, it is clear that standards in preclinical and clinical trials are lacking. Creating more standards in these areas could be beneficial to stakeholders attempting to get their product through clinical trials, as there would be standards that could be used to help avoid pitfalls and make sure the product is safe during trials. This would dramatically speed up the process of developing regenerative medicine products, which would benefit stakeholders, patients, and regulatory bodies. In regenerative medicine, there are many areas that need increased standards development. Without more standards, regenerative medicine therapy development can be delayed. Regenerative medicine standards development is complex and will have to be individualized for each sector. This will require focused development of standards in a novel way that hasn't been done previously. It is necessary that these standards are developed because they will spur innovation, focus investment, improve safety, and help develop regulations. By creating standards, the entire field will be able to move forward more rapidly. As is evident from this chart, there are many functional areas that are lacking standards development. These functional areas also can cross different sectors, showing how focusing on certain areas such as cell counting could have a larger impact in the field of regenerative medicine as they will affect multiple sectors. By using this landscape report in this manner, it can help stakeholders to determine which standards and areas should be focused on. This is also part of the contract with the FDA to help fulfill the 21st Century Cures Act, as we will be working on reports focusing on how to identify and prioritize the gaps in standards development and a roadmap on how to address these gaps. In order to complete this report on the needs and opportunities in standards development for regenerative medicine, Nexight and the Standards Coordinating Body will be working with experts in the field to determine which areas in their fields would benefit from standards development, as well as performing gap analyses. The Standards Coordinating Body then plans to recommend projects to stakeholders as well as organize workshops. We will also be maintaining a comprehensive searchable list of standards information along with web content. The SCB will also be participating in standards development organizations in order to aid them in officially creating regenerative medicine standards. And now I want to give the webinar back to Kendra for questions.
Thank you, Dawn. Now we've set aside some questions for you, and as a reminder for everyone on the webinar, if you have any questions, please enter those now into the chat function by clicking on the question mark icon to the right of your screen. This may be a question mark or a circle with a question mark inside of it. Given the number of attendees in today's webinar, we'll be aggregating questions of a similar nature for the speakers or calling on specific questioners for the discussion. Dawn, one of the first questions is, can you talk a little bit about what the SCB is currently doing to further standards development?
Yes. So currently, we have multiple sectors that we've divided our stakeholders into, and we all have meetings in order to try to further standards development, and are currently working on multiple projects to create international standards, particularly for ISO and ASTM, along with creating multiple workshops where we plan on trying to figure out some of the needs and gaps for standards development so that we can further those standards as well. And if anyone is interested in joining or being part of this, they could contact us at SCB through our website.
Great. And, you talked about some of the areas of need in your presentation. Based off the landscape report, what areas of regenerative medicine are in need of standards development the most?
I would like to point out that, I think almost all of the areas are in need of standards development, considering the fact that this is kind of a newer field, and there are it's not many products in regenerative medicine that have made it to market yet. So a lot of the different areas really need standards. But in particular, it looks like clinical trials and preclinical trials, as well as manufacturing and bioprocessing, seem to be lacking in standards development.
Thank you. And then, how can stakeholders interested in standard development get involved in the SCB?
Like I mentioned earlier, they can definitely contact us through the website, and it would be great if we could have anyone who's interested. We love input and insight, especially from experts and people who are actually working in the field. And what we would do is then we'd be able to connect you with other stakeholders, and you could look at what products, or what projects particularly interest you and would be applicable to your expertise, and have you help us with those.
Great. And as a reminder for those on the phone, if you have any input or feedback into the landscape report that's available on the Standards Coordinating Body website, please send any revisions or suggestions to Sarah Lickner at Nexight Group. Her email address is available on the SCB website. Thank you very much, Don, for sharing kind of a summary of the landscape report overall. Very much appreciate it.